always brushed it off as them being overprotective until recently. Around our 2-year anniversary, my boyfriend wanted to buy a house. He was so excited, so sure that it was the next step in our relationship. The only problem? He couldn't qualify for a mortgage on his own. His finances weren't in great shape, but he swore up and down that once we had the house, everything would get better. He just needed a little help. I wanted to build a future with him, so I became a co-borrower. My name was on the loan, my credit was on the line, and my financial stability was now directly tied to his. The moment the paperwork was signed, everything changed. Suddenly, he became reckless with money. It wasn't just occasional bad spending habits, it was an avalanche of irresponsibility. He never paid his bills in full, was always just short on the mortgage, and guess who had to cover for him? Me. At first, I told myself it was temporary, that he was adjusting to the new expenses and that things would level out, but they never did. I started skipping meals just to make sure the mortgage was paid, while he had Amazon packages arriving at the door almost every day. I confronted him about it many times. Each time, he'd either brush it off or make me feel guilty. He'd tell me he was trying, that I knew what I was signing up for, or worse, he'd sulk and accuse me of not believing in him. My parents saw what was happening. They watched me go from someone who was independent and financially stable to someone who was drowning in debt, exhausted and barely scraping by. So they made me an offer. If I left him and never looked back, they would pay off all my debts, help me get my credit back on track, and support me while I got back on my feet. It was the hardest choice of my life. I loved him. I had built a life with him. How could I just walk away? So I turned down the offer. Then everything crumbled. He overheard me talking to my mom about it and wouldn't stop badgering me until I told him the full story. I was hoping he'd be touched that I chose him over financial security, that he'd see how much I believed in us. But instead, he scoffed. If I got an offer like that, I wouldn't even hesitate. I'd be gone. That single sentence shattered something inside me. For 3 years, I had prioritized him over myself. For 3 years, I sacrificed, endured, and struggled believing that love meant staying no matter what. And in a heartbeat, he made it clear that he didn't see it the same way. That if the roles were reversed, he wouldn't even think twice about leaving me behind. I was devastated. But even through the heartbreak, there was clarity. I had chosen him over my future, my well-being, my financial stability, and he had just told me he wouldn't have done the same. The next morning, I called my parents. I told them I had made a mistake. And then I told my boyfriend I was done. At first, he acted indifferent, like he didn't care. But then, the panic set in. He begged me to stay, said he didn't mean it, that I was taking it the wrong way. But the thing is, I wasn't taking it the wrong way at all. I had simply woken up to the truth. Leaving wasn't easy. It was messy. It was painful. He made it as difficult as possible, accused me of betrayal, tried to guilt me into staying, even attempted to manipulate my parents by painting himself as the victim. But for the first time in years, I wasn't backing down. It's been a month since I left. My parents held up their end of the deal. My debts are gone, my credit is already improving, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can breathe again. But the real win? I finally learned that love isn't about sacrificing yourself to prove your loyalty. Real love is mutual. It's balanced. It's not a never-ending compromise where only one person is giving up everything. I almost lost myself trying to keep someone who never really valued me. Never again.